SHE pretended to be asleep at her bestie's bridal shower. What she overheard was the worst betrayal. Hello besties, welcome to Emma's Tales. Please subscribe and leave a like for us, it means the world to us. Also, share this video with your loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you. As you do so, sit back and relax as we dive into the story. I lay perfectly still on the velvet couch, champagne fizz whispering in my ear, while the women I loved most plotted 2 feet away. Breathe, Zara. Just breathe. My eyelids fluttered ever so slightly as someone giggled. A familiar laugh. Lila's laugh. My heart hammered beneath my ribs, adrenaline sharpening every sensation. I'd thought it would be harmless, just a playful prank, closing my eyes for a moment and letting the bridal shower festivities drift past me like a lazy summer breeze. But as Lila leaned in, her voice rich with wine and secrets, I realized this was no joke. The scent of mimosa and vanilla perfume drifted through the warm air, mingling with the laughter and idle chatter. I counted my breaths, slow, steady, measured, pretending to be submerged in sleep, careful not to twitch even a finger. Any slip, any false note in this performance, and the whispered confessions would vanish. Lila giggled again, playful and tipsy. Shh, keep your voices down, she slurred slightly. We don't want Zara waking up, do we? A chorus of hushed chuckles, conspiratorial yet careless. She's practically unconscious, came a teasing reply from Sharon, a mutual friend I'd known since college. Her voice was sharp, like a blade slicing delicately through silk. Nothing could wake her right now. Oh, trust me, Lila whispered smugly. I know Zara better than anyone. There was a pause, heavy and significant. My chest tightened, my heartbeat echoed louder inside me, drowning out even the faint jazz music playing softly from the speakers. Then Lila spoke again, casual but pointed. Honestly, she has no idea. She still thinks Daniel just fell out of love. The name pierced my lungs like ice-cold needles. My breath caught painfully in my throat, but I fought down the urge to gasp. Instead, I let the words linger in my ears, unraveling a truth. My heart feared even as my mind raced ahead to decode it. I'm sorry, Lila. What did you just say? Sharon's voice dripped with intrigue. Lila took a slow, measured sip, savoring the attention. Daniel never fell out of love with Zara, she said softly, intimately. He just found someone better. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. I had imagined many possibilities, had rehearsed scenarios that kept me awake late at night, but nothing prepared me for the sudden flood of nausea that swept through me. My fingertips grew cold, numb, lifeless. The bridal shower, meant to celebrate Lila's supposed happiness, was suddenly a stage upon which my worst fears danced openly. Wait, are you saying? Sharon hesitated, clearly stunned. Lila, you mean you too? Long before Zara knew it was over, Daniel and I already knew it had started. Lila replied, her voice smooth like velvet, unburdened by guilt. A shocked silence spread through the circle, crackling like static electricity. Then, finally, whispers erupted again, scandalized and fascinated all at once. You were seeing him behind her back? Lila sighed theatrically, swirling her glass. Seeing him? No. Not physically, not at first. But emotionally, we were connected from the beginning. Zara never saw it coming, because she never wanted to. Each word was a deliberate, calculated cut, slicing deeper into my heart. Daniel, my Daniel, the same man who'd whispered gentle promises beneath starry skies, who'd held my hand tightly through uncertain times, who'd built imaginary futures with me, had been slipping quietly from my grasp and straight into Lila's waiting arms. My best friend, my confidant, my sister. It was impossible. It was unimaginable. It was happening. Denial clawed at my chest, but the evidence was undeniable. Lila's coy laughs, the careful omissions whenever Daniel's name came up, the way she'd acted overly supportive when he finally left me. How had I been so blind? Well, aren't you worried, Zara? We'll find out? Sharon asked, her voice quieter now, cautious. Lila laughed dismissively, without hesitation. Zara? She's harmless. She always believes the best in people, especially in me. Her voice softened mockingly. Besides, even if she suspects something, what can she do now? The wedding's days away. She'd never dare to ruin it. Not sweet, gentle Zara. Sweet, gentle Zara. My fists tightened invisibly by my sides, nails digging deep enough to hurt. All this time, I'd thought kindness was my strength. But Lila had weaponized it against me, seeing me as weak and naive. A hot rush of humiliation flushed my cheeks. For a split second, I almost leaped to my feet, shouted, through something fragile and beautiful, destroyed Lila's perfect little lie. But another voice spoke up inside me, clearer and calmer. Not here. Not yet. I swallowed, tasting salt, bitter like tears I wouldn't yet let fall. My pulse slowed. My breath steadied again. The conversation outside moved on to other topics, honeymoon plans, guest lists, mundane details that now felt absurdly distant. Lila glowed once more, laughing as if she hadn't just casually shattered my trust, my friendship, my world. Slowly, deliberately, I stirred as if emerging from an innocent nap, stretching gracefully and rubbing my eyes. The women around Lila looked startled, slightly guilty, but Lila herself smiled warmly, perfectly poised. You okay, Zara? She asked gently. Did we wake you? I met her eyes steadily, searching for remorse, regret, something human behind the mask she wore. But there was nothing. Just a placid smile. Perfectly convincing. I think I drifted off, I said softly, forcing a small laugh. Must have been the champagne. Everyone laughed politely, the tension dissipating. I rose smoothly from the velvet couch, a careful smile etched across my face. I'm going to head out, I announced, voice calm and steady, betraying none of the fire beneath my skin. Lila rose quickly, concern exaggerated. Are you sure? You can stay longer. We haven't even opened your gift. My gift. A cream-colored box tied beautifully with ribbons, filled with bath salts and candles and wine. Items chosen with care and wrapped lovingly for the woman who'd secretly betrayed me. It's fine, I replied gently, picking up the gift box. It felt heavier now, poisonous. I want you to enjoy tonight, Lila. It's all for you, after all. Her eyes flickered briefly, unsure, perhaps sensing something hidden beneath my words. But she recovered instantly, leaning forward and kissing my cheek lightly. You're the best friend anyone could ask for, Zara. I closed my eyes briefly, fighting the sharp sting behind my eyelids. So are you, I whispered. The irony hung in the air like smoke, unacknowledged but suffocating. Outside, the cool night air shocked me back to life. The quiet street was empty, shadows stretching like secrets beneath soft lamplight. I stood motionless for a moment, the gift box clutched tightly, breathing deeply to steady myself. Then, slowly, deliberately, I opened my phone, scrolled to Daniel's number, still there, undelete, like a scar I'd refused to heal, and paused. My thumb hovered uncertainly over the call icon, but I stopped. No. I didn't want an explanation. I didn't need empty apologies or lies repeated softly over the phone. I needed truth, raw, unfiltered, unedited. And this time, I would find it myself. I slid the phone away, heart hammering with newfound resolve. My past had just shattered into pieces, but my future, uncertain as it was, suddenly felt clearer. I would no longer be Lila Silent, trusting Zara. She had used me, underestimated me. But tonight, beneath the glow of the streetlights, I made myself a promise. Never again. Turning away, gift box tucked under one arm, I walked swiftly into the darkness, leaving behind the echoes of laughter, the scent of betrayal, and the naive woman I'd been only minutes ago. Back home in the hush of 3 a.m., my apartment felt oddly alien, as if I'd walked into someone else's life. Every familiar object seemed misplaced. I stood frozen in the doorway, the toxic gift box still in my grasp, staring at the framed photograph of Lila and me smiling brightly from my living room shelf. Its warmth now felt counterfeit, its joy a calculated lie. It was always Lila. Lila, whose dorm room became my second home after late-night study sessions. Lila, who handed me tissues when my first heartbreak shattered my teenage world. I sank onto the couch, numb, the box slipping forgotten from my hands. How long had the betrayal existed? Suddenly, memory fractured reality, slicing me open like broken glass. I stood with Lila on the rooftop of our college dorm, the world small beneath our feet, the air filled with youthful laughter and promises whispered into the night. Forever sisters, Lila had said, her voice earnest, eyes gleaming.
No secrets, no betrayals.
We'd clasped hands, sealing our vows with the warmth of trust. The sky had seemed endless then, bright with stars and possibilities. Now, alone in my apartment, those stars had gone dark. Trust lay shattered at my feet, sharp-edged and cruel. Daniel's voice echoed faintly in my ears from the past, quiet and deep. I promise it'll be real one day, Zara. His eyes had shone softly under the glow of the street lamp as he slipped a cheap silver ring onto my finger, a gesture so earnest it stole my breath. Just give me time. And I had given him everything. Time, faith, love. And yet, Lila had said they connected from the beginning. The pain twisted deeper, turning memories into blades. The quiet of the room pressed in on me now, oppressive, heavy. I grabbed my phone, desperate for distraction. My thumb hovered again over Daniel's number, the impulse burning brighter. But instead, I opened the photo gallery, fingers trembling as I scrolled through memories I no longer trusted. There we were again, Lila, Daniel, and me smiling outside that little cafe. Lila leaning in slightly too close. Daniel laughing at something she said, his eyes bright. Had it begun there? Was it always hiding in plain sight? My vision blurred. My apartment spun into another flashback. The night Daniel first brought me home from a date. He was careful and gentle, opening doors, offering his coat. I'll always be here, he'd whispered when I stumbled, laughing, into his arms. I'd believed him entirely. Had Lila seen us then, watching silently from shadows I never noticed? With a shiver, I rose abruptly, pacing restlessly through the living room. My breathing quickened, memories tumbling chaotically, overlapping, blurring into one another. Lila's voice, soft and steady after my breakup, rang clearly in my mind. He wasn't ready, Zara. You deserve someone sure. Her hand had smoothed my hair, her comforting presence wrapped around me like a protective shield. Was that comfort real? Or was it manipulation, carefully timed sympathy? The tears finally fell, quiet and bitter, landing softly on the polished hardwood floor beneath my feet. But even in that grief, clarity was forming, sharp-edged and undeniable. Lila hadn't just taken Daniel, she'd stolen years of my trust, reshaping truths into subtle, comforting lies. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. My phone buzzed suddenly, pulling me from the tangled web of memories. Tessa's name glowed gently on the screen. You okay? Her message read simply, somehow sensing my internal chaos. I don't know. I typed quickly, fingers flying. I found out something awful tonight. Tessa's response came immediately, decisive and comforting. Tell me everything. Tomorrow, coffee first thing. The weight on my chest eased slightly. Tessa had always seen things clearly. Maybe, just maybe, she could help unravel the twisted timeline Lila had created. Another memory surged, swift and fierce. I was curled up on my bed, sobbing quietly after Daniel had finally walked out for good. Lila was beside me, gentle but firm. Let him go, Zara, she had whispered softly, stroking my hair. You deserve better. Her eyes had held sincerity then compassion. But had there also been triumph, hidden deep beneath? Anger surged hotly through me, mixing with the sorrow and confusion. It was messy, unfinished. Daniel and I had ended abruptly, without closure or explanation. Lila had filled the emptiness with comforting words, conveniently available. How blind had I been? I grabbed my laptop, determined now, opening social media, hunting for clues, for timelines, for proof. The screen glowed coldly in the darkness, casting harsh shadows across my trembling hands. Lila and Daniel's smiles mocked me, frozen forever in digital snapshots that now held deeper secrets. One image stopped my breath. A fundraiser event a year ago, Daniel's arm subtly encircling Lila's waist. Casual, easily explained away, yet now glaringly obvious. The betrayal had been alive far longer than I had imagined. How many other moments had I dismissed, oblivious to the poison hiding beneath friendship? I closed the laptop, feeling sick, the weight of reality pressing heavily against my chest. But beneath that weight, a new resolve hardened. I wouldn't confront Lila with empty accusations. I wouldn't shout, cry, or beg. I would gather the truth carefully, methodically, unearthing every buried secret. Proof would speak louder than my hurt ever could. Finally, I rose, wiping tears from my face, breathing deeply. My reflection stared back from the hallway mirror, raw, wounded, but fiercely determined. Lila and Daniel had written their own narrative, carefully hidden beneath lies and half-truths. But tonight, in the painful quiet of my apartment, I vowed to rewrite their story with truth alone. Not revenge, not bitterness, just truth, unmasked and undeniable. Tomorrow, the search for proof would begin. Morning light spilled across my bedroom floor, like an apology I did not want. Sleep had come in shallow, fractured pockets. Every time my eyes closed, I saw Lila's satisfied smile hovering at the edge of candlelight. But the new day arrived anyway, humming outside my curtained windows, and I rose with it. Bones heavy, purpose heavier. I dressed quickly in jeans and a linen blouse that felt like armor, tied my braids into a high knot, and slipped the small silver ring Daniel once gave me into my pocket. A reminder. Not of love, but of loose ends that still needed tying. Tessa chose a coffee shop on the quieter side of Ikoyi, exposed brick, high ceilings, and the kind of playlist that pretended heartbreak was sophisticated. She was already seated when I arrived, 2 lattes steaming between us. Straight to business, she said, handing me a flash drive. No greeting, just reality. I pulled everything visible on your socials. Cross-reference tags, likes, locations. My stomach tightened as I slid into the wooden chair. How bad? She arched a brow. Let's find out. We opened my laptop. The screen glowed with a dizzying grid of images. Birthdays, fundraisers, concerts. Daniel's grin peered out from half of them. Lila's eyes glittered from the other half. That morning the familiar felt menacing. Tessa tapped one photo dated June 14th, a rooftop cocktail party I'd missed due to a migraine. Lila clung to Daniel's arm while a lantern threw soft gold across their faces. Notice the caption. Tessa murmured. Night to remember with the best company. Hashtag heart emoji. I swallowed. She told me she left early that night. Said it was boring without me. Tessa kept scrolling. Here's another. August 2nd. Daniel and Lila seated side by side at a lecture hall, heads bent together over notes. My name wasn't tagged. I'd been at my cousin's traditional wedding miles away. We zoomed in on the timestamp. Lila had texted me that afternoon. Hope the wedding's beautiful. Tell me everything later. She'd been busy building a different story. Pain flared, but beneath it, satisfaction. The puzzle was taking shape. We spent hours digging, not just my feed but Daniel's, Lila's, Malik's. I learned the algorithm kept more secrets than any human. Metadata betrayed even the most curated lies. We found a tag location at Lecky Arts Gallery 6 weeks before my breakup. Daniel and Lila in the background of Malik's selfie. A blurred reflection in a cafe window. Lila's hand on Daniel's knee, ringless, proprietary. Private group messages where Lila shared memes with Daniel at 1 a.m. while I slept beside him, unaware his phone was glowing for someone else. Each discovery clicked like a chamber loading. My emotional fuse shortened by millimeters. Around noon, Lila's name flashed across my screen. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Lila. Rehearsal dinner venue confirmed. Think rose gold table numbers? Smiling face with smiling eyes. The smiley stung. I muted the conversation but left the notification banner visible. War drums, steady, taunting. We left the cafe to meet Kalu, an old classmate who now managed a bistro downtown. He'd been present at more parties than any of us and had a memory like a hard drive. Kalu greeted us with a quick hug and 2 bottles of water. Tessa says you need details. I inhaled. Do you remember Daniel and Lila being close while he and I were still together? He leaned against the bar, thoughtful. There was that dinner at Yaba Grill October 2 years ago. You were sick, Zara. I saw Daniel and Lila arrive together. They sat side by side for most of the night. She wiped sauce off his chin. My vision tunneled. Did anyone else notice? People joked they looked like a married couple, he said gently. But we thought you knew. I closed my eyes, forcing my heartbeat to slow. Another puzzle piece clicked. Tessa took notes on her phone. Any photos? Kalu disappeared into the back office, returning minutes later with a printed candid from the restaurant's anniversary wall. Lila and Daniel, heads touching, smiling over a shared plate. I pressed the photo flat against the counter, studying the date stamp. October 17th. 3 weeks later, I had begged Daniel to show up for our anniversary dinner. He'd left me waiting while he worked late. Lie upon lie. I slid the photo into my tote bag like evidence from a crime scene. Back in my apartment, Tessa sprawled on the floor amidst printouts, highlighters, and my old journals. Pages rustled like wind through dry leaves. Lila texted again. Lila, cake tasting at 5. Wish you could join. Bridesmaid duties never end faced with tears of joy. I put the phone face down. Classic Darvo. Tessa muttered. Deny. Attack. Reverse victim and offender. She keeps you busy, keeps control of the narrative. I flipped a journal open to an entry dated March 3rd. Daniel hasn't called in 3 days. Lila says he's under pressure. My handwriting looked naive, loops too wide, trust too big. Tessa highlighted every mention of Lila advising patience, empathy, let him breathe. She built your cage sentence by sentence, she said softly. I studied another page. A scribbled heart next to Daniel's initial. My throat tightened. I tore the page out, crumpled it, threw it aside. The cage was gone. Now, there were only bars I would melt down into blades. Early evening, we arranged to meet Malik, the infamous cousin, under the guise of clarifying rehearsal dinner logistics. Malik was lanky, friendly, perpetually late. He showed up in track pants and a sheepish grin. I'm glad you asked to meet, he said, plopping into a cafe booth. Lila told me you'd handle the centerpieces. Tessa reached into her bag, produced a photo of the rooftop cocktail party. Malik, when was this? He squinted. June 14th, last year. Good night. Why? Because Lila told Zara she never saw Daniel alone until after their breakup, Tessa said, voice light but piercing. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Malik blinked, processed, shrugged uncomfortably. Well, we all hung out. Didn't seem like a big deal. I leaned forward. Be honest. Were they dating then? His eyes darted away. Look, Zara, I thought you knew. Daniel said you two were on a break. Fire licked my spine. He said what? Malik's regret was immediate. I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood. Tessa slid a voice recorder phone onto the table, screen glowing red. The silence stretched. Finally, Malik exhaled. Okay, they weren't official, but they were close. Daniel told me he found someone who understood him better. I didn't want to meddle. I figured relationships die sometimes. He looked up, eyes damp. I'm sorry, Zara. Apology noted, recorded, stored. Night settled over Legos, neon, and headlights reflecting off damp asphalt. Tessa and I commandeered her tiny studio apartment, walls now plastered with photos and sticky notes, Dates, locations, witness names. We created a timeline across the wall in pink thread. September 12th, year 0. First suspicious DM. Daniel sent Lila a late-night poem. October 17th, Yaba grill photo. Shoulders touching. December 5th, Daniel missed my birthday dinner. Snap of him and Lila playing arcade basketball. January 24th, year 1 group hike. Lila cropped me out of her post. February 14th, Valentine's Day charity gala. Daniel and Lila arrive in matching burgundy outfits. I was at home with stomach flu. In 3 hours, the truth stood undeniable, incandescent. My phone vibrated again.
Lila, Bridal playlist suggestion.
Need your vibe. Sparkling heart. I let the notification fade. War drums. We printed everything on glossy paper. Photos, message logs, my journal excerpts annotated with dates. Each page slipped into clear sheet protectors. Evidence unassailable. On the cover, Tessa wrote in black Sharpie, truth. I weighed the binder in my hands. 200 pages, each a dagger. My heart pounded, but it was no longer fear. It was momentum. The rehearsal dinner is Friday, I said quietly. Tessa nodded. We'll give them the night they ordered. Candles, speeches, then deliver the bill. I imagined Lila clinking a glass, thanking friends for their love. I imagined Daniel smiling, blissfully ignorant of the tsunami building at the room's edge. And I imagined placing the binder on the podium, letting facts tumble out like marbles, impossible to gather back up. Not revenge, I murmured. Truth, Tessa finished. Near midnight, I returned home alone. The apartment felt different. Same furniture, new gravity. I set the binder on the coffee table, knelt before it, exhaled. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out the cheap silver ring and placed it on the cover. It looked small now, childlike, barely a circle. My phone buzzed once more. Lila, a selfie of her tasting wedding cake, frosting on her nose. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, bestie. The caption radiated sunshine. I didn't reply. Instead, I whispered to the empty room. See you soon, Lila. Then I turned off every light except one lamp over the binder, its pages glowing like bones under X-ray. Tomorrow, we would walk into the rehearsal dinner dressed in courtesy and steel. And when the moment ripened, truth would stand up and speak. Clear, merciless, final. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, the fuse lay waiting, a single spark from detonation. The rehearsal dinner venue was a picture-perfect illusion, bathed in a warm amber glow from countless fairy lights. Soft music from a string quartet drifted delicately, harmonizing with the gentle clinks of champagne glasses and murmurs of polite laughter. Tables dressed in pristine linens, elegantly adorned with blush-colored floral arrangements, created an atmosphere of understated extravagance. It was precisely Lila's style. Beautifully curated, nothing out of place. I entered quietly, dressed in simple midnight blue, clutching the binder tightly beneath a silk shawl draped casually over my arm. My heartbeat kept rhythm with the subtle crescendos of the music, steady but quickening with every step. The room was filled with familiar faces, family members, mutual friends, old classmates, all gathered unknowingly on the precipice of revelation. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Lila floated through the crowd in an ivory rehearsal gown, her laughter ringing like crystal bells, eyes sparkling with anticipation. Daniel stood nearby, comfortable and confident in a charcoal suit, exchanging jovial greetings with guests, his expression devoid of guilt or anxiety. As I moved through the elegantly dressed crowd, Tessa appeared at my side, discreet and supportive. Everything's set, she whispered reassuringly, her voice steady despite the heavy air. I nodded, scanning the room for Daniel's parents. They stood near the podium, smiling warmly as they greeted guests. The sight of them tightened my throat momentarily. They had always been kind to me. What I was about to reveal would shatter their view of their son and future daughter-in-law. My eyes found Lila again. She caught sight of me and waved cheerfully, mouthing, "You look beautiful." Her brightness grated against the shadows I carried, sharpening my resolve. I forced a soft smile back at her, masking the storm within. Taking a deep breath, I approached Daniel's mother. Her warm smile faltered slightly, sensing something off in my demeanor. "Zara," she said gently, embracing me. "Everything all right? I need you to have this," I murmured quietly, discreetly pressing the sealed envelope into her palm. She stared down at the envelope, puzzled. "What is this, dear?" "Answers," I replied simply, stepping back before she could question further. Tessa touched my elbow lightly, steering me toward our seats at a distant table. Just as we sat, my phone vibrated discreetly against my palm, confirmation from the journalist friend. Timeline is live. A chill of both fear and vindication coursed through my veins. It had begun. Moments later, a ripple of confusion passed through the room. Guests' phones vibrated simultaneously, expressions shifting from delight to concern as eyes darted between screens. Tessa glanced at me meaningfully, tension coiling tighter. Across the room, Daniel's mother blanched visibly, holding her phone with trembling hands, disbelief etched deeply into her features. She turned sharply toward Daniel, her eyes demanding answers. Lila, sensing the shift in atmosphere, laughed nervously. "What's everyone looking at?" she asked loudly, voice artificially bright. Her eyes flickered anxiously as whispers rose around her like a rising tide. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone slowly. His face drained of color as he read the headline glowing ominously from the screen. He staggered slightly, catching himself against the podium. The string quartet faltered, sensing the gathering storm, notes trailing into silence. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Lila rushed toward Daniel, voice brittle. "Daniel, what is it?" He stared at her with haunted eyes, voice hollow. "Did you think this wouldn't come out, Lila?" "Think what wouldn't come out?" she demanded, desperately trying to maintain her facade. But even as she spoke, the carefully constructed mask began to slip, panic seeping through widening cracks. Daniel's mother stepped forward, her voice trembling with anger and betrayal. "You lied to us, Lila. Both of you. For years? How could you?" "It's not true," Lila cried, voice breaking, desperate eyes scanning the room for support she would not find. Guests whispered harshly, casting wary glances at the couple who stood exposed, vulnerable under the harsh lights. Phones continued to buzz as the articles spread rapidly through social media, each notification another nail driven deeper. Daniel met my gaze across the room, a question and accusation blending in his eyes. "Zara," he began weakly, "please, this can't be how." I rose, steadying myself against the swell of conflicting emotions. Every eye fixed on me, silence stretching painfully. "The truth looks better on you than lace." I spoke softly but clearly, my voice slicing through the quiet, surgical and precise. Lila stared, betrayal contorting her beautiful features. "Why, Zara?" I met her eyes calmly. "I didn't ruin your night, Lila. You did that yourself when you built it on lies." Gasps punctuated the air, but I turned slowly away, Tessa at my side, unwavering. Behind me, a strangled sob escaped Lila, shattering whatever remained of her illusion. As we moved toward the exit, I glanced back once more. Petals from the centerpieces fluttered softly downward, delicate as ashes, scattering across the polished marble floor, a poignant finality in their descent. The perfect night had caught fire, and from the embers, only truth remained. The morning dawned gray and heavy, matching the numb stillness within me. Muted church bells echoed softly through the hazy city, tolling solemnly as if mourning the ceremony that would never take place. The whispers had already begun. On screens, in cafes, hushed gossip that replaced polite pleasantries. The wedding of Lila and Daniel was officially canceled, its downfall documented meticulously across social media platforms. I walked slowly along the Victoria Island shoreline, waves rolling gently onto sand, rhythmic and indifferent. My feet sank slightly with each step, footprints filling slowly behind me, erasing evidence of my passage. The ocean breeze tugged gently at my loose curls, salt-laden and fresh, cleansing against my skin. Every step forward was deliberate, each one releasing a piece of the past into the forgiving vastness of the ocean. Daniel's ghost faded first, his promises dissolving into whispers, empty and weightless. I had loved him, deeply and truly, but that love belonged to another lifetime now, one shaped by illusions I no longer wished to hold. The sisterhood myth of Lila followed, unraveling thread by painful thread. I acknowledged the sting of betrayal openly, refusing to shy away from the rawness of it. Lila had been woven deeply into the fabric of my life, her betrayal cutting sharper than any knife could. Still, I chose forgiveness, not for her sake, but my own. Bitterness would not become my legacy. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Finally, and most reluctantly, I released my self-doubt into the sea, watching as the waves swept away the belief that I had been inadequate, too trusting, too blind. I had questioned myself endlessly through long nights of silent anguish. Now, beneath a sky bruised with early morning clouds, I chose clarity. Doubt had no place in the life I would rebuild. My phone buzzed intermittently, notifications delivering snippets of external fallout. Headlines blared dramatically. Betrayed bride-to-be exposes truth. Wedding scandal shocks Lego socialites. Truth triumphs over deception. Tessa forwarded the most significant reactions. Supportive friends declaring their loyalties, angry condemnations, neutral observations. Yet the external noise registered only faintly. I had made peace with whatever judgment would follow. Tessa sent a voice note, cautious, yet gentle. You holding up, Zara? Call if you need anything. I smiled softly, pausing to reply. I'm good, Tessa. Really? Thanks for being there. My solitude felt comforting rather than lonely, my presence solid against the vast openness of the shoreline. My eyes caught on a distant ship, small and resilient on the horizon, navigating through uncertain waters. The symbolism resonated deeply. I too was small yet resilient, now free to chart my own course. I faked sleep once. I murmured to the breeze, voice steady, resolve unwavering. But I'm wide awake now. My steps grew lighter, confidence returning with every stride forward. I imagined my future not as something neatly planned, but as open and full of possibilities. I saw glimpses of new adventures, authentic friendships, perhaps even new love, built carefully, honestly, deliberately. Returning home later, I faced the remnants of my previous night's revelation. The binder sat heavy on my coffee table, pages of evidence, still neatly arranged inside. It was both my liberation and my chains, a symbol of the past, but also a marker of newfound strength. Carefully, I carried it back out to the shoreline, flipping briefly through its pages one last time. Each sheet represented hurt, betrayal, lies, but also courage, clarity, and truth. Closing the binder firmly, I walked to the water's edge and with decisive strength, hurled it far into the waves. It landed softly, sinking slowly beneath the ocean surface, disappearing from view. All except one page, a single blank page I deliberately kept. It symbolized an unwritten future, the start of a new narrative crafted by my own hands, free from shadows. As I stood there, watching the spot where the binder had vanished, the words of Luke 8 verse 17 floated gently into my thoughts. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. The verse resonated profoundly within me, affirming my actions and the peace I'd chosen to embrace. Truth, indeed, had surfaced. Dignity had survived, strong and intact. Turning from the sea, I clutched the blank page close to my chest, a quiet smile blooming slowly on my lips. I walked steadily forward into the uncertainty ahead, knowing that from this moment on, every word of my story would be written by my own hand, in my own truth, free and unafraid. Hey besties, thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you felt something, learned something, or just enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button.